Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from
Your company name here.
the studios in Cape Coral, Florida. It's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up? What's up, OG5? Just getting it out of the way now. If I pass out during the show, it's because of the combination of Flex Seal floating around my house and the Sharpie marker that for some reason smells a whole hell of a lot worse than it should. But what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. We want to thank each and every one of you for joining us for another episode. And we also want to welcome back Gordon, as always. He's always here. He's very loyal. He's part of the show. And on our rotation guest co-host, no use for last name, Mike. Congratulations to you. We now have launched and live the tackleyourpersonalbest.com. And that now goes to his page, so there's no more TBY2K7675.d-410.com. You can simply go to tackleyourpersonalbest.com, which is still a shitload of typing. But hey, it's easier to remember. And so you can go check out his latest episodes and all the good content, which links to his up-and-coming Facebook pages, etc., etc. But how's everybody doing tonight?
I'm missing a mustache, and Mike's only got a mustache. Smash them together. We'll have something going on here.
Yeah, what's with the Fu Manchu? No, that's not a Fu Manchu, is it? No, Fu Manchu isn't that like the handlebar mustache that's missing the goatee?
No, that's a handlebar mustache.
What's the technical Fu Manchu? Is that a Fu Manchu?
Actually, a goatee technically doesn't have this.
Okay, so you have a goatee, much like a goat, where the name comes from. What did I have in the late 90s, early 2000s?
It would actually be a Fu Manchu.
Is that a Fu Manchu? I don't want to think that I was a active participant in a Fu Manchu. What is a Fu Manchu? No, a Fu Manchu is if Mike's mustache went down past his chin. That would be a Fu Manchu. A Hulk Hogan. Think of Hulk Hogan. It's the mustache without the chin. So Gordon technically has a goatee. Mike is 2 inches too short of
small, sometimes pointed beard.
Yeah, so Mike's 2 inches shy of a goatee of a Fu Manchu. Goatee kind of falls under both categories.
Goatee is defined as a style of facial hair incorporating hair on a man's chin and mustache.
Yeah, but I think there's probably, I'm sure, like if you found some like historian on facial hair, there would be a difference in between what Gordon has.
Just say I look like I'm fucking Amish.
Versus
put the hat on.
What I had. Wait a minute, hold on. Oval, triangle, square, round, heart. Nope, that doesn't help. Anyhow, welcome to Hot Facial Hair Talk on the What's in Your Head podcast. Now,
well, if I get a goatee, or a mustache, I gotta be careful and not shave it into what they call a donut beard.
Now,
so you know,
sometimes
I got a fat face, so I'm trying to stretch it out.
Yeah, you're gonna grow out the goatee and maybe put some beads in it. Go like full Dimebag Darrell.
You know, that's an idea.
I got a question for you AC people out there, but we'll get to it as I tell this story because there's a story leading up to it. As you guys know, my kayak sprang a leak and damn near sank to the bottom of Davy Jones.
Couldn't put a finger in it like the little Dutch boy did at the dike?
No, because it wasn't a round hole, as I would later find out.
That's D-I-K-E, not D-Y-K-E.
It was not a round hole that could be plugged with a finger.
He did it again. Caused trouble. Hurt someone's feelings. Yet he didn't want to do it. Yes, troublesome people are often people in trouble. They may be mentally ill. Find out how you can help. Write Better Mental Health, Box 3000, New York 1, New York.
So
Mike's missing the reflective mirror cop glasses.
Yeah.
Respect my authority. Either that or what's those new ones that they
some pit vipers.
Pit vipers, yeah.
There you go. I mean, you're a Florida man, right?
Yeah.
I was at the gym yesterday, and this cat came walking by me who was about 19 and a half. He had the mustache like Mike has, but more Magnum PI-ish, more filled in, not the trimmed down goatee and the mustache. he had a full-blown feathered mullet. And what I mean by that's feathered on the
Are we
front.
talking like 80s style?
Yes, late 70s, 80s style.
We're talking Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson?
Yes, maybe a
Okay.
few years before that. More late 70s, more Dukes of Hazzard era, more transitioning into that realm.
Did he have like his shirt halfway unbuttoned and a big gold chain?
No, because he was a
Hair
young
just
cat.
kinda-
He was
Alright.
he probably just borderline and graduating high school. But it occurred to me that the trend amongst the young cats is they're too dumb to realize that when they're making fun of Generation Xers, they call us boomers. And so their whole, thing is we don't like boomers, but it occurred to me you're basically dressing like a late generation boomer did in the 70s and 80s. I mean, that was our father's
early
like
Gen
younger
X, yes.
cousin would have dressed like that when we were like 2. When we were
We
gathered
hate
around
you. We hate you because we ain't you, but we're going to dress like you.
when we were gathered around the TV watching Dukes of Hazzard and the Fall Guy and Mork
Daisy
and
Duke.
Mindy and the reruns of
Nanu.
and reruns of Leave It to Beaver,
Gosh, Wally.
the 18 to 20-year-olds, the late boomers, early Gen Xers, that was their peak style when they're out searching for strange. I mean, and I'm just like, you guys constantly you hate on us, but not us, but that early generation. But you're dressing like the people you make fun of. It's just funny. I love the irony of it. But the thing I don't like about it is, I never thought that was a cool style.
It was a shit style when it was out.
It was, and that's kind of my whole thing about the mid '80s stuff. It's like that shit wasn't cool then. It isn't cool now.
You mean you're not into getting a polo shirt on and popping the collar and walking around?
Well, I did a little picture on this sweet ass the Cass King Pond Hopper sling that I use as a daily work bag, and I posted a thing on Instagram saying, I carry and conceal more things on my daily routine that fit in my pocket, but not enough to justify a full size book bag. Things they're half empty, and so this thing works great. But I said, I lived through the '80s and early '90s once before. I have no desire to relive hip pack life, so I'm going with this bag. And we've gone now from hip pack life around the hip to now these guys are wearing them like Mexican, bandoliers on Mexican outlaws in the
Well, some of those guys
1800s.
actually have something inside of there that is there to protect them.
No,
Yes.
I'm talking like the hipsters, the young cats. They'll have like their Gucci hip pack slung over their waist like a freaking bandolier. I can't do that. I'm too old for that shit, I guess. I don't know. So I have no desire to.
God damn it! Look at these kids.
The whole back in my day, Gordon and I are kind of cynical about the hip pack thing anyhow, because we were kind of on the vanguard of that, which was skateboarders kind of had that because our pants
Think
were
we
so
had
ridiculously large that our shit would fall out of our pockets. So you'd put your elephant tool in there, your keys, your wallet, and whatnot. But we wore them. Usually, if we had them over our shirt was pulled out and hung over them, so you could barely see them. All you could see was like the bottom. And then in the 90s, when these dads were walking around with these super goofy, like 15-tiered freaking hip packs that stuck 8 feet off of their belly button.
And yes, they still had white New Balances on.
Like our Vision Streetwear and our Vision hip packs were literally just a single pouch that was flat. You could put the shit in because, you're out skating all day, and we had on jams and things that didn't have adequate shorts and storage, and you needed a place.
There's one style.
Jams,
You may be speaking too soon because
they'll
the
be coming
Hawaiian shirt
back.
came back.
and they're in the 5-inch inseam short, dolphin.
So the jams are back.
Not yet, but they will be. I think.
What about the big wrestling MC Hammer pants that you'd see at the gym back in the 90s and late 80s?
Not yet. Kind of
They're
like
like chef's pants.
kind of like our
almost.
Vision Streetwear pants we had.
Yeah, pretty much.
But no. Well, jams are
Our styles led what we end up ultimately ridiculing.
jams are kind of more of a beach summer wear. And for those of you guys who don't know, jams are almost like early board shorts before surfing had board shorts.
Except they were colorful like a Hawaiian shirt.
Yes, they were big and baggy like a board short, but yes, they tended to have bright Hawaiian-esque patterns. And I remember the one pair I had, we were in Twin Lakes in Kentucky, and I had a huge yellow jacket fly at my jam short and sting me right on the inner thigh, and that hurt like a motherfucker.
You got jammed.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think you were like in second grade, first grade then.
but back to the story at hand and why I might pass out during the show. As we mentioned prior, I have a hole in my kayak, and experiment number 1 was a failure, which was to coat the entire bottom with Flex Seal. If it was a pinhole or a
You saying those commercials are just not no go?
I can't go there yet because they probably put.
Because all they did was slap it on there.
Well, this isn't the tape. This is the stuff that comes in the quart. This is the.
Oh, so you basically throw a mastic on.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And for all we know, they did 338 layers on that John boat made out of screen door, or they just dipped the whole thing in 3 feet deep pool full of Flex Seal. But anyhow, and not to bag on Flex Seal yet, but the problem is the keel on my kayak. Basically, think about like if you were to take a razor knife and just cut off a 1/4 inch of it, it had no structural integrity. It's kind of like missing the A-pillar out of your window. So you could actually squeeze the sides, and that whole area where the hole was, it actually broke a seam around the Flex Seal. And so, long story short, because the video will be up on YouTube, you guys go watch it. I did, in fact, this weekend go out and get a plastic welding kit. The first one I bought from Harbor Freight and Tool, I think the soldering iron was defective because the thing got so hot that the metal shaft on the tip for the flathead actually melted and the thing collapsed underneath its own weight. Because I'm pushing on this plastic. I'm like, I don't remember the shaft being shaped like a banana before. And so I kind of go down on the concrete and I bend it back straight, and then I just watch it and it goes zoop, and it just fell off. I'm like, what the fuck? Luckily, they replaced the whole damn kit. Got it done. I think it's good to go. But what I did, since I already have a nice skim coat under the entire bottom of my kayak of Flex Seal, I wanted to just add a little extra waterproofing to it. So I just put a quick glob of Flex Seal over just the area in which I did the plastic welding. And I knew this was a risk because it's in my garage, and I cracked the door and I have a fan on. But here's my question for the AC people who may be listening in the audience. My air handler, much like a lot of people's here in the state of Florida, is out in the garage.
That's up in the attic?
No, it's out in the garage.
In the open.
Yeah, how they use it, like my old house I rented, it was mounted on the ceiling and hanging down. A lot of them are. And then they have the drip tray underneath it. Like Rusty and Zach, who I cat sit, when they're out of town, I got to go feed their cats. I actually have to go through their side garage and then duck and walk underneath their air handler because it's slung so low. They have to.
What kind of lazy construction method is that?
Lack of space. Because the entire
Lack of space.
Well, the entire attic is already full of all the ducting.
Okay.
I don't know. This is just the way it is.
This is what happens when you get vaulted fucking ceilings.
That too. And so like at their house, they actually have to put water noodles around the drip tray so you don't knock yourself unconscious walking underneath it with a hat on, because a lot of times you don't see things because of the bill. And so anytime you do anything in my garage and the air conditioning's on, it smells like that in the house because it's sucking air. The air handler is in the garage.
That makes sense because usually it just comes from the return air only. And
well, that's when you're recirculating, but like I guess it pulls air out from out there too. But anyhow, all I know is like if you were having a party here and people were smoking out in the garage, whatever they may be smoking, the interior of the house will smell like it. If you're out, perfect example. Go ahead.
I know that on those particular air conditioning units, you've got your in.
You look like a white Cleveland.
Do what?
You look like a white Cleveland Brown.
Shut the fuck.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Giggity. But go ahead.
You got your inlet and you've got your outlet,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of hangs there. But I know they put like duct tape and everything, actual air conditioning duct tape.
Yep.
And I guess I don't know. What
It's clearly
plaster or something like that. And I mean, if it's an older home,
it was
that can get cracks in it.
My AC was put in 2016, right before I bought my house, and I know this because when I had to get homeowners insurance, because my homeowner insurance company got closed down by the state of Florida because, well, apparently they didn't have enough money to pay out shit. And so when I was getting quotes for new insurance, I found out my roof was 10 years old and my AC was put in 2016. Now, the main return is at the top of the vaulted ceiling here in my living room, which means anytime I want to change a filter, I got to get up my 14-foot ladder. That sucks. But no, literally anything you do in a garage. And so right now, even though I got the garage door cracked enough where someone can't get in and steal all my shit, and I got the fan on, there's a odor Flex Seal throughout my house. And then before the show, I wrote my notes with Sharpie. Well, that was kind of freaky. Look how the whole background just went black. Woo. So I got the waft of Sharpie in my face and the smell of Flex Seal, which I will give them credit. Flex Seal doesn't have an overwhelming smell. Like when you crack the bucket open, it's not a punch to the face, but it's lingering throughout the house. And so, am I the only one that has that problem? I mean, and here's what made it worse. So Dad bought a new house, and he had to put stuff in storage, and I borrowed his pressure washer because I need to pressure wash my vinyl fence because it's been a few years. And after about day 3, I came home from work, and I'm like, why the fuck does it smell like chemicals in the house? And so I'm out in the garage looking through all my spray cans, looking through all my cans of spray paint to see if one of them blew up and ruptured from the heat. I'm going through my entire garage. I'm walking around. I'm looking for gas knocked over. I'm looking through the house. And then I finally realized, I think the seal on the gas tank, on the gas cap, on the pressure washer. So I had to put the pressure washer on my back porch under a tarp because it made my entire house smell like fucking gasoline because of the air conditioner in the garage. To me, that seems like a health hazard. Maybe I need to have it looked into.
Yeah, that'd probably make you pass out.
Yeah,
Well, it makes you wonder if that thing was actually inspected when it was put in.
apparently they didn't go out and like light up some. They should have had like the wife of the home inspector who wears too much patchouli. They should have had her stand out in the garage and then crank up the AC and have everybody else walk around the house. But literally anything, and it's not just this house. My other house is the same way. Back when I used to do a lot of smoking, if you know what I mean. It would smell inside the house.
Speaking of air conditioning units, I used to live out in BFE, towards the east, and I had a house out there. They had the air conditioner in the garage and had no drip pan, no condensate line, no nothing. And during the summertime, it would get hot, and that would get condensation all over the bottom of it.
Yep.
Not to mention, it's this far. I mean, I'm not as tall as you, but it's this far from my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then with no drip tray, it would just sit there and drip all over the floor. And I had a truck parked in there at the time, and quite a few times I fell probably twice, and quite a few times I slipped, and because it gets all nasty and
it gets
like
all
greasy.
Say it like Cleveland. It gets all nasty.
It gets all nasty.
That's nasty.
Well, here's another thing.
That's nasty.
Here's another thing I've never seen anybody do until I moved to the state of Florida, and you already know.
Cleveland White over here.
You know what? Cleveland opaque. You know what I'm going to say, Gordon? Have you ever had to
Is that
vacuum
Cleveland
out?
Wop?
Sorry.
Is he-
Where's the button?
Is he a Dago?
That's harsh.
Is he a Dago?
What's your last name?
He has no last name. He has no
I
use for a
have
last
no
name.
use
I've seen your last name. I would
Yet
say
he didn't want to do it. Yes,
Wabash.
troublesome people are often
Yeah.
people in trouble.
It
They
is
may be
Italian,
mentally
yes.
ill. Find out how you can help. Write Better Mental Health, Box 3000, New York 1, New York.
He's Italian, but he's not manicotti Italian. He's not a ragatone. You ever seen those
Yeah.
Italians who like abbreviate their food because they just can't say it all? Want to come over and have some manicotti? Have some calamari? You mean
they probably
calamari?
invented froyo too, right?
Calamari. That's too much for you to say. Calamari. A manicotti. You mean manicotti? A manicotti.
Manicotti.
You want some manicotti?
You want some Fredo?
I forget what I was going to say. See, the chemicals are kicking in. Anywho, yeah. So, I will launch my kayak and see if it floats. Remember that old Dave Letterman bit? Will it float? But yeah, will it float? So we will find. I'm pretty convinced that this resolution, because what I did is I ran a plastic weld inside and put the screen material, put plastic over. And the other primary reason, even though I think it's stainless steel or even like aluminum coated screening, I want to put the Flex Seal on it just to prevent any potential rusting on it, because this shit is going to be submerged underwater, and so that's that. But yeah, God, to be honest, I think it's the Sharpie more than anything else. But yeah, you were saying something, and I was making you say it like Cleveland, but yeah. So how y'all been?
Oh, that's nasty.
That's nasty.
That is the sound of Don losing more brain cells. I think I can afford to.
Seriously.
So what's a huck?
That's a fishing company. That's my new hat.
Ah.
Got it at West Marine today on lunch.
William, we used to huck it was when we were snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, huck off the jump.
Yep. Yep.
More silly slang from the past.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's done.
Old fart terminology.
Hey, I had something happen to me yesterday.
That's what we're looking for. What's that?
Not really happened. So I finally, after getting numerous of these poll calls, took one.
Oh, fuck. I forgot to vote today. Damn it. Anywho, go ahead.
And this person was definitely one-sided poll. I was trying to figure out which side, because sometimes they try to mask it. And they're talking about more about Catherine Cortez Masto and how she's voted, and would that make you more likely to vote
You
for her?
promised
Somewhat
me
likely.
that fucking cough drop would be gone before we went on the air, and I can still
Oh,
hear
it's just a new one.
I can still hear it rattling off your teeth, and the people
It's a new
listening
one.
via earbuds will thank you
So-
tomorrow.
And they'd ask a question, and sometimes, you know what, I don't like her, but I kind of agree with this. But the answer was, would you be more likely to vote for her, somewhat likely to vote for her, somewhat less likely to vote for her, or more unlikely to vote for her? I said, what about, I am good with what she did there, but I still ain't fucking voting for her.
Yeah.
Well, you could still say somewhat likely, and it does. I was like, it's like you need more nuance in your question, man. But I really threw them off because a lot of the stuff I was answering was a little more conservative leading, and one of the questions they've asked is, how important is the abortion issue to me? I said, it's not. It threw them off.
Well, not
Like,
now
what?
because
I said, it's
old.
not. I have no horse in the game.
I was going to say that issue tends to greatly affect people between the ages of 16 and 24 more than it does a bunch of 40-year-old white dudes.
Well, plus there's the other thing, we believe in not being forced to do things by government rules that we believe are overreaching, and to agree with it and yet be pro-gun. It makes us kind of a hypocrite, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we try to avoid that.
I'm definitely pro-choice up until a certain date.
Correct.
Or period.
It's again, nuanced, right?
Absolutely. And that's the way it
then
should be.
They asked me about Trump. Well, what did you feel about, he asked me about Biden first. I said, he's horrible. Well, what did you think about the previous president, Trump? I said, he's horrible too.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep on going, so are you Democrat or Republican? I said, neither. So it just kind of
I'm
threw
a
them. I
frustrated.
should have backed this up and just started trolling them from the beginning.
I'm a frustrated American citizen who is tired of being handed two piles of fucking Great Dane shit and
This
asked
is
to
the
make
best
a
we've
best
got?
statue out of either one of them.
Turd 1 or Turd 2?
Gee, which one has the less corn in it? That'll be the
This
one.
one's got sticks and twigs in it.
See, that's
This
where I
one's
got
got
hung
rocks
up
and
on.
leaves.
That's where I got hung up on after Mike's little thing because he mentioned a phrase that I haven't heard in a while, which was BFE. And so,
Bumfucked Egypt?
and so I jotted down Egyptian snowflakes. Do you think Egyptian Gen Zers are offended by that term? Bumfuck Egypt. Why are you
There's probably one.
Yeah, there's got to be one
And
Egyptian.
they live in America.
At least.
Yeah, he's like first generation American who has Egyptian parents, and he has a big Twitter account. I'm sorry, they have a big Twitter account because I'm sure their pronouns are listed, and they probably did a whole diatribe, a 17 response tweet on the offensive phrase of BFE.
And it's all word salad and an emotional
Know,
mess.
Speaking of crazy conservatives, one of the things that, and Adam Kroll often jokes around calling the slippery slope guy, but sadly sometimes the slippery slope guy does come to fruition years and years later. One of the insane arguments about 20 years ago about gay marriage and all that, you'd have these crazy evangelicals. So if we're going to allow gay people to get married, what's going to separate from me from marrying my dog or my tree? Just stupid shit like that. And they said that shit for years.
Yeah.
But what we have seen, and I'm seeing more of it, with the acceptance of all of the different identify as thing, there are truly, and I saw another video today, someone was showing a pamphlet there are truly people trying to, and I hate using new hip catchphrases, but this one applies. These sick fucks are trying to normalize what they're referring to minor attraction sexuality. They don't want to be
Were
known
you
as
on back to NAMBLA
pedophiles.
bullshit?
Yes, there are a group
Oh,
of people
fuck.
trying to quote unquote normalize.
And all the pedophiles rejoice.
Well, you can't call us pedophile, and that was
Oh,
the
fuck yeah,
pamphlet.
you're pedo.
That was the pamphlet they were showing. Is don't use the phrase pedophile because that's just as offensive as
And
the
you know
N
what? I will
word.
say it to any of these assholes. Stop me, motherfucker.
Yep. God.
See, I believe that anybody that touches a kid inappropriately or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think they should be shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think
that's-
castrated
I was
first.
going to say shot's a little too nice.
Let's go with castrated first.
I mean, I don't believe in.
I didn't say nicely.
I don't believe in
I
eye
didn't
for an
mean- I
eye.
didn't
Well,
mean
that's
bullet
true.
to
You
the
didn't
head.
say
Right, how about
execute
a
them.
1,000 razor cuts?
I
you
think
know?
that's the one thing that most normal thinking people would agree on. We don't agree on eye for an eye, but when it comes to pedophiles, let's bring back some
what
town,
what you're
town
saying
square
is-
fun.
What,
mean,
what you're calling normal, Don, is part of the man thing. What do we
the
call
Man
it?
Boy Love Association.
Yeah, but but they're calling it normal. You're calling what's normal, what's not normal. That's all part of. You're part of the problem. You're just an old white man.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some fun young activity. This probably be good, well, in Gordon's news, but I stole it anyhow. Florida 14-year-old boy and his mom charged with national identity theft plot, deputies
Not
say.
in my news. You can take it.
Deltona, Florida, right up the coast. Florida high schooler and his mother were arrested for identity theft scheme that affected people across the nation, according to authorities. The Volusia Sheriff's Office said 14-year-old boy and his mother stole personal and financial information belonging to 17 people. Now, this is the part I love. This is like the mom is like well, I didn't want my kid to party elsewhere and not know what's going to happen to him, so I told him to bring all their friends over here. Deputies said that the Deltona high school student was initially investigated in May after threatening to kill a fellow Daytona high school student who didn't pay money for the 14-year-old's pyramid fraud scheme. This
dude,
kid's
if
already
you're going to be a fraud guy, you may want to stay off the radar.
This kid's only 14 and he's trying to be a young, I went blank because of the Flex Hill in the air. Who's the guy who ripped off all the celebrities, took all their money, and then his son-in-law killed him?
Was that Bernie Madoff?
Yeah, this kid's 14 and he's already trying to be a young Bernie Madoff. Further investigation found that the teen was buying people's stolen personal and financial information online, including their social security numbers, credit card numbers, and logins for various bank and website. If you're not using two-form authentication, you need to get that shit going, people. According to deputies...
Wait. What's this two-form authentication?
You know how every once in a while when you go to log into Facebook, they tell you to pull out your phone and go to code generator, which didn't work tonight, by the way, Facebook. I'd have you guys text me.
But I got a flip phone.
Well, then chances are your identity's already stolen, and two-form authentication is not going to help you.
Okay.
According to deputies, the underage suspect also had instructions on how to make and forge money orders. Where does this kid clearly got on the dark web somewhere? The sheriff's office found 17 total victims of identity theft and grand theft from different parts of the country. When contacted, 15 of the victims decided to press charges. Now, this is where the cool parent comes in, right? This is where she's going to say, hey, I tried. I told him I didn't approve of this, but... However, the teen did not act alone. Deputies said messages between his mother, 38-year-old Selena Wallace, showed her...
Is that a millennial?
This is the writing. 38? Yes. This is the writing from the local, the Deltona NBC affiliate. This is not my learning disability coming out.
It's his learning disability coming out.
Text messages between his 38-year-old mother, Selena Wallace, showed, ready for this? Showed her tell her son that while she wished he used his abilities to make money legally, he needed to raise his prices for higher profit margin.
Hey, listen, son.
To me, it
I'd
seems like
rather you do this legally, but the way you're going about it, you're leaving money on the table.
See, to me, with my learning disability, to me, it sounds like it should sound like it should read like 38-year-old Selena Wallace messages showing, to me it seems like they left the word out there. But anyhow, Wallace showed
the people who wrote that used to
showed
in
her
text
tell
anyway.
her son that while she wished he would use his ability to make money, he's leaving money on the table.
He showed her tell her son.
A search of her home found 12 laptops. Okay, clearly this kid's breaking into shit. I'm sure there's some grand theft you guys haven't discovered because these don't seem like the type of people who can afford 12 laptops. But anywho, 12 laptops, 4 printers. Now, why would he need 4 printers?
To
Remember,
make
he was
fake
printing up
shit.
fake money orders, and clearly he was mass producing them. This kid's 14, 12 laptops, 4 printers, 4 cell phones, several gaming systems, and other technology, according to the sheriff's office. The minor was charged with 15 counts of identity theft, obtaining property by fraud, illegal use of credit cards, and unlawful use of a two-way communication device. His mother's
Sounds like
also...
kid shows promise.
He'll be working for, kind of like the Catch Me If You Can kid. He'll be working for the FBI and the fraud department. Blah, 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 blah. The charges are pending and further investigation. So that's some well-quality spent time between a 38-year-old girl and her 14-year-old son. So let's do the math on
if they're
that
lucky.
real quick.
If they're lucky, they'll just get a federal prison that will be a little bit easier on them than the local pokey.
Speaking of 2FA and technology,
2FA.
two-form authentication,
Oh yes. Oh yes.
2FA, and technology. Latest trend, latest news story actually comes from a article written on Microsoft's website back on August 16th. Janet Jackson's song Rhythm Nation had the power to crash laptop computers and still does have the power to crash some legacy computers. I'm not going to read the news story that's on every AP site. I'm actually reading from Microsoft's website from the developer page. Quote from Raymond Chen, a colleague of mine shared a story from the Windows XP product support. A major computer manufacturer discovered playing the music video from Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation would crash certain model laptops. I would not have wanted to be the laboratory that must have had the setup to investigate this problem, the guy explained. One discovery during the investigation is that playing the music video also crashed some of the competitors' laptops that weren't even playing the video. So just hearing the sound would cause these computers to crash. And then they discovered something extremely weird. Playing the music video on the laptop caused oh, we just read that, even if they didn't play. What's going on? It turns out, and this is kind of cool, this is science, if you will. Science? It turns out that the song contained one of the natural resonant frequencies for the old model 5400 RPM laptop hard drives that that certain manufacturers use. So basically what was happening is when these hard drives were spinning at 5400 RPMs, they made a resonant sound. And so when the old school read-write arms are writing data, which if you don't know, that data is written magnetically, the digital equipment that was used in the studio in Rhythm Nation in the late 80s, early 90s, when everything was done on a Casio or an 808 machine, somehow created the exact same resonance, and so it caused the hard drive data to get confused on what was being written. I hear your dog's playing. So you have fun.
No, Zoe's down in her playpen because Katina's out of the house right now and she's going nuts. I think she's actually. I couldn't believe you actually heard that, but.
The manufacturer worked around the problem by adding custom filters to the audio pipeline that detected and removed the offending frequencies during audio playback. I am sure that they put a digital version of Do Not Remove sticker on the audio filter, although I worry that in many years since the workaround has been added, no one remembers it was there and it has been removed. And furthermore, I don't know how many people are still using 5400 RPM hard drives anymore. I did see a TikTok.
I don't know. I'm beginning to feel like mine is.
I did see a TikTok where there was a radio shot talking about it, and it had like 3 laptops in the studio, and they held them all up to the monitor speakers, and one of them did actually just turn right off. Went, their dog is pissed.
She just got home, so she's gonna be dancing at the cage.
And so if you hear or see news articles talking about Janet Jackson causing computers to crash. Unless you're using a computer that came out in 2004, you're probably pretty good. And even if you are, chances are that hard drive has long crashed and or was not large enough and you have replaced it at some point in time. Hey, Mike,
Yes, sir.
when you come to Cape Coral, where would you go to play a mini golf or drive a go-kart or perhaps shoot a paintball or play arcade games from 1992?
I refuse to call it what its name is now.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Greenwell's.
Now, why do you refuse to call it Gator Mike's?
Because I grew up calling it Mike Greenwell's.
So you're a Mike Greenwell guy?
Yeah, I guess so.
Mike Greenwell is running for office, and I didn't vote today. And if you
You
live in Cape
certainly-
Coral, it's now called Gator Mike's because Mike Greenwell sold it. Mike Greenwell was a former Major League Baseball player. And as you probably don't know unless you live down here, Southwest Florida, and, well, yeah, the entire coast of Southwest Florida, there is actually the entire state of Florida, there is many spring training grounds. So baseball players spend a lot of time down here, and at some point, Mike Greenwell liked it, opened up a batting cage mini golf / arcade, never updated it, at some point sold it off.
What is the spring leagues considered down there? Like out here, it's called the Cactus League because obviously it's in the desert.
I don't know what they call it down here. The swamp ass league. I don't know. But we do have the Minnesota Twins down here, and we did have, who else did we used to have? It was the Twins, and I thought we had somebody else at some point. But yeah, we have the Twins. They used to be the Fort Myers Miracle was their farm league, and then they changed the name to the Mighty Muscles because all the tourists coming down here, because Fort Myers is known for our consumable mussels, delectable. The reason I bring it up is I was reading this Wink News article called "Do Court Documents Raise Questions About Lee County Schools Policies for $1 Million Contracts?" I was like, okay, let's see what this says. Newly uncovered information may raise questions about how the school district of Lee County awards contracts worth millions of dollars to taxpayers in different versions. May I help you?
Hold on, I gotta stop you. You're all the Grapefruit League.
Grapefruit. Not even the orange, I
Nope,
guess.
the Grapefruit League.
Yeah, that's pretty lame. I'm sure
Yeah.
California stole the oranges or somebody. The information is part of a lawsuit between A-Life Oaks. I wonder if that's the same Oaks. Anyhow, A-Life Oaks and the district. It asks how and why certain decisions involving vendors were made. And okay, well, what's the big deal? This is coming up now because Oaks had had his food vending contract terminated by the district after controversial Facebook post of more than 2 years ago. This guy's probably a Trump supporter.
We're still digging back into the past of people, are we? Thank God we did not post anything.
This
in
guy
the 90s.
provides food to the fucking district. Who cares? It's not like he's serving it to the fucking kids. Who cares what his Facebook post are? Chances are he's a Trump supporter. Anywho, that's not why I bring this up. It gets a little more interesting. The document shows that Oaks hired a private investigation firm to explain how district finds and hires vendors. One deal the private investigator looked into was worth $3 million locksmith contract. After all our schools down here are minimum security prisons. They need to be locked. And so we got to have our kids safe.
I can one up you.
Go ahead.
So we're doing some security upgrades, or there's some security upgrades being done in Clark County School District out here. One school in particular. So most security upgrades are costing between $6 and $8 million, and there is one school in particular that is $26 million, which is almost enough to just rebuild a new school.
But this is just $3 million for door locks, not for the school.
No, this is security. This is some cameras,
Oh,
and
yeah,
some door
gotcha.
access control, and door locks. Yeah, that's it.
One deal the private investigator looked at was for a $3 million locksmith contract. It went to two companies, neither of which seemed to fit the district's minimum requirements, and one of which is part owned by a newly appointed official. The old Big Boys Club.
I think it's a good old boys club.
Yeah, that too. The school shooting at Broward County's Major Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018 shattered ideas of safety and security on campuses across the state.
Shattered it like
Shattered.
fine china.
A year later, in
Oh,
2019,
China.
Florida school districts still scrambled to upgrade school security. part of the involved upgrading locks on schools throughout Lee County. Lee County School Board members Bessie Vaughn and Gwen Gittens pushed for an exhaustive search for the best and most affordable locksmith vendor. Seems like a reasonable request when you're trying to source out $3 million contract. Gordon, you do this sort of bid all day. You got to find the...
It's going to be prevailing wage, so it's going to be at the prevailing union wage there if it's over a certain amount of money. So you're already paying double for what you really can get, for a non-union outfit. But usually they vet things out. I don't know.
And that's
they're complicated projects to work on.
That's what Betsy and Gwen said is, hey, we need to push for an exhaustive search for the best and most affordable qualified locksmith. However, quote Miss Vaughn, I was accused of being in the weeds for saying things or asking for things that were none of my business. Meanwhile, Gittens says, I was told to stay in my lane and stop asking questions. So I asked more questions. Reasonable.
Go make a sandwich.
It's nice to see that people on the school board were, at least two of them, were wondering what the fuck's going on. The board eventually awarded a $3 million contract to two vendors, Big Lead Builders, Inc. and Integrity Builders of Southwest Florida, in December 10th of 2019. Remember how this conversation started out with a Major League Baseball player who used to own a fucking batting cage / putt course?
Oh, yeah.
By the district's own guidelines, state records appear to show that neither company fit the minimum requirements to get these contracts. When asked about the way contracts were awarded, Vaughn said, absolutely, it's part of the good old boys club. According to the district's invitation to negotiate for locksmith deals, applicants needed 5 consecutive years in related businesses, something companies could show with their SunBiz profile. For those who don't know, when you open up a business here in the state of Florida, you actually have to register with sunbiz.org, and that's where they register your business name, and that's where people can go look up your businesses to see if you're licensed and all that shit. However, SunBiz Records indicates that Big League Builders Incorporated in March of 2018, just a year and a half before December 10th, 2019, when the company was awarded the contract. So, for those of you with short-term memory or huffing Flex Seal and or Sharpie markers like I said, they have to have a minimum of, 5
years.
Minimum of 5 years to get the contract. We did ask for, I guess you could say,
bonded and licensed for a certain amount too.
We did ask for, I guess you could say, a waiver for the fact that we didn't have a locksmith company, said Mike Greenwald. Greenwald owns 10% of Big League Builders and is listed as the group's trustee. His son Bo and Garrett Greenwell own the company. Wink News asked how Big League Builders was awarded a multi-million-dollar contract that they weren't technically eligible to apply for. I love this.
You know what I'm going to say is they probably didn't have enough locksmiths going after that work.
Oh, I'm sure Coons Locksmith fucking applied.
How's that spelled?
Koon, and their icon's a raccoon. Quote, we did have experience in that, a home builder, and being involved as much as we are in building. Every house has doors and locks on it, Greenwell defended. So the fact that they build homes and every home has a door with a lock on it, that made them qualified, even though they'd only been in business for 2 years, to get this multi-million-dollar locksmithing contract to secure our kids.
Different grade of lock and door.
But that's his. Now keep in mind, Gordon, this guy just got appointed to a city official job here in Cape Coral. Actually, he's running. I don't know if the elections were today. I'm sure he'll get voted in. And Wink News is not exactly a leftist thing trying to do a hack job on a Republican, because they actually run the Fox News radio affiliate. So it's all. But anywho, I digress. Greenwell said he is stepping back from his family business to avoid that problem. I'm sorry, Wink News asked Greenwell about potential conflict of interest for his elected official to be involved with an 8-figure contract paid by taxpayers' dollars, in which Greenwell said he is stepping back from his family business to avoid the problem. The great thing is when Mike Greenwell started running for office, and I just knew him as from baseball and his less than updated defunct putt course. he came on with the folded bill and the kind of the chaw, and he really gave the good old boy farmer accent. And I moved down here and I've been living out in Lehigh or wherever the fuck he's living, and kind of trying to present the good old boy. We're gonna clean out the swamps, and the guy's not even in office yet. And it turns out his family business got a $3 million locksmithing contract because the houses we build have doors and locks on them, so we're qualified. Not bona fide, like Mike's new kayak, but qualified.
That's right.
I didn't completely step out. I'm stepping back. I think
Are we
that's
still
the
on this
most
story?
important thing. It's still a family-owned business, he said, and I always knew this might be something I wanted to do. This seemed like a great thing. Integrity Builders of Southwest Florida, the second company awarded the locksmith deal, was incorporated in April 22nd of 2019, just months before the December 10th, 2019 deadline. They received the deal, even though they seemingly failed to meet the 5-year requirement. Week News reached out to them multiple times for Vice President of Integrity Builders of Southwest Florida, Peter Zielinski, with an I. All of his voicemails and calls went unanswered. Imagine that. District records show that the 3 months after Big League Builders and Integrity Builders were awarded the $3 million contract, the district approved an increase in the deal, making it worth almost $11 million, because after all, you can't buy enough locks for $3 million.
Well, not with inflation. Have you seen the
Because
cost of
every
shit these
house
days?
we build has doors and locks on them, therefore we're qualified.
You can't get those little quick set fucking locks for a goddamn
Sorry,
school
Mike
bill.
Greenwell, but I've yet to be in a house that you can unlock the door with a fucking card in your wallet like the teachers have. That requires low voltage and IT guys.
That's called access controls, and it also requires what's called a
But was the
composite cable.
But was the work done correctly, you might ask? Pictures obtained by Week News showed locks were improperly installed, and the topic came out in public board meeting. Quote, I saw pictures of the locks put in upside down, Vaughn said. I was livid. Every house we build has doors and locks on them. Some of them may be put in upside down.
It's called
Why not?
piecework.
They put the outlets in upside down at the hospital for safety.
That is called piecework.
Is exactly what that's called.
That's
Piecework.
called, we have
Two
sub,
trades it does not belong in is electrical and plumbing.
we have
We could both agree on that.
subcontractors.
Right.
I saw the pictures of the locks put upside down. Vaughn said, I was livid. 7 months after the contract increased, company named KPBG Properties was established, and the principal members included Peter Zielinski, Bo, and Garrett Greenweld. Interesting. The principal address is for the empty lot of land in Olga, Florida. So, once again, several months after the
You want to buy some swampland in Florida?
Several months after the contract increase, a company named KPBG Properties was established, and the principal members included Peter Zielinski, Bo, and Garrett Greenwell. The principal address is for an
Well,
empty
what's the
lot
name of the
in
company
Olga.
again? Let's say the letters one at a time.
Yep, KPBG. Yeah, it's all
Okay,
there.
yeah.
It's in grand opening. After all, every house we build has
It is
doors
very
and locks on them.
transparent. It is very transparent with the name of the company. that
And they
will do
didn't even
business
get a
together.
PO box like we did at a UPS store. No, the company's address.
Got a lot with a boat ramp on it, right?
Probably not even a boat ramp. It's in Olga. So why is a company started between two separate businesses months after they were awarded a contract worth almost $11 million in taxpayer money?
Because they can't handle it.
There was a piece of property that was bought to our attention, Greenwell said. They're interested in buying it, and it came to us, and we asked if we'd be interested in being partners in it. So, of course, we think it's a potential great spot, so we bought it. Meanwhile, Oaks, who still believes his vending contract was unfairly terminated. What was the name of the place in Naples that had the fresh food that was the big Trump supporter? Wasn't that something Oaks? Naples, Oaks grocery store. It was something Oaks. Groceries. Oaks.
Oakstone.
No, it was something Oaks. Remember they did the whole COVID thing. COVID, Oaks, grocery store,
Oaks?
Naples. I guarantee it's the same fucking place. I guarantee that's why they lost their contract. Grocery store wearing face mask. Sorry guys, let's at home because I'm trying to. I truly think, what the hell is the name of the place? Oaks Farm. I guarantee you this Oaks Farm, because remember, Oaks Farm was the guy they they stood up against all the COVID stuff, and they were in national news. Video show shopper employees without face mask coverings. That's right. They're one of the first chains here in Florida to conduct business without face mask, and they were all over the goddamn news. So I can almost guarantee you that this Oaks fella who lost his contract that kind of kicked off this entire investigation is the owner of Oaks Farm, which, by the way, they're the ones who provided the extremely hot peppers that we made Dave eat. But yeah, and so where was I? Oh yeah, back here. Meanwhile, Oak still believes that his vending contract was unfairly terminated over controversial Facebook post. Won't accuse the locksmiths of bad intention, but he does want answers on how Lee County schools are giving out and terminating contracts. Quote, they didn't meet the minimum criteria. There should be nothing left to say, right? Oak said, we need to look into this. Of course, Wink News asked for an interview with Lee County School District Superintendent Chris Bernier, but was told to fuck off. Wink News also reached out to Bo. No, they didn't say that. They were unavailable due to talks about contracts. Wink also reached out to Bo and Garrett Greenwell. Every house we build has doors and locks on it, therefore we're qualified. About Big League Builders and the company's relationship with these schools, we're still waiting to hear back. But that's kind of sad.
My name is Daryl. This is my brother Daryl. This is my other brother Daryl.
Now let me ask you this, Mike. Prior to hearing that, now that you've heard that story, does that change your opinion of the legendary Mike Greenwell at all? Disappointed a little bit.
It's disappointing, but
not surprising. It's just sad. That's how politics work. Even on the lowest level, you think, okay, here's this former baseball player. He owned a defunct, poorly ran, never updated golf course / putt / batting cages, which have been recently torn down by the new owners, Gator Mike's. And I don't know if they're building new ones, but I noticed that the batting cages were torn down 2 days ago. But I mean, the guy was kind of a namesake right here. They had the haunted hike every year where you can go walk through the empty lots next door during Hollywood and Hollywood Halloween and all this shit. And then you hear he's running for local, office and wanting to clean things up. And like before Election Day, the story comes out that every house we build has doors and locks, and therefore we're qualified for $11 million school security door lock contract.
It's definitely disappointing.
And I can fucking guarantee you there's there's probably at least 30 locksmith companies that's been around for 50 years that could have easily looked into that contract if they were even in the loop and fucking knew that it was an option. I guarantee you that sort of contract that's not put up on Craigslist on Facebook Marketplace, if you will. That's something that's only mentioned in hushed tones. Hey, do you know anybody who builds houses with doors and locks on them that we can give an $11 million lock contract to? What's that? 5 years? Nah, just let's say 18 months. Can we agree on 18 months? 18 months will be good. It's just like, come
There's
on.
always backdoor political deals that go on. And
they're not even smoke-filled rooms anymore. Now they're vape-filled rooms.
We like to call them white envelopes.
Oh, yeah. Not the ones with anthrax in them.
This nobody's seen yet. This is Zoe.
Hi, Zoe Zoo. Oh, she's a itty bitty. She's just a little baby.
Yeah.
She's just a little girl. Just a little baby girl.
5 months old. She's the Muppet.
Oh, little fuzzy
Hey,
butt.
Katina. Anyway.
Car explosion kills Daria Dungia. Dungia? D-U-G-I-N-A. Russian. It's a Russian name. Car explosion kills Daria
Why am I even doing this
Dungia.
today?
Oh, is that one yours? I'll wait on that.
No,
one.
it seems like we're going after one news story after another right now.
Well,
But yes, I did hear about that. That is the daughter of.
We'll save that for the news.
No, I don't have it in the story.
No, we'll just bring it up at that time.
Okay.
Question for you before we get to the news and all that. Have
Mhm.
either of you ever quit a job in a spectacular way?
No.
Mike?
I have thought about a spectacular way to quit a job.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Would you like to hear it?
Sure, please. It doesn't have to be spectacular in the observer, but it would be spectacular for you and in your mind.
I worked for a major tool manufacturer up in North Carolina, and
Does it rhyme with
was this-
clap on?
yes,
I completely guessed. Okay.
I was a CNC machinist and was making metal parts and everything for the tools and whatever.
Things
and
make
this
you
guy
go,
on first
"Hmm."
shift, good old boy, worked there before it was
A
as you
union
said,
shop.
clap on. It was
This is where my pappy did it.
It was the Levi pant plant.
Nice.
And
Back in the day, we riveted the pants together.
the guy probably worked there, the entire time. But anyway,
Since 1903, when Levi Strauss
Exactly.
formulated the company.
An asshole. He was an asshole. And every day when I would come into work,
You know what made this guy an asshole? Part of the problem is like he started there back in 1905 when, there was a ceiling of $12 an hour, and then fast forward 30 years, he's still at $15 an hour, but they're hiring the new guy at $12.50 an hour, so he's pissed that he's wasted 30 years.
yeah. But he was a dick. Every time I would come into work, something was changed that didn't need to be changed. Like he thought he knew best.
Mm-hmm.
And the spectacular way that I wanted to quit was we were moving down here. I put in a 2 weeks notice. I showed up like 3 days because I used up the rest of my vacation time.
And you wore your Craftsman T-shirt.
Yeah. And he had this toolbox, and we weren't allowed to have like personal boxes inside our cells where we worked.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured out a way to get into it by pulling the pin out of the hinge.
Sure.
And I was going to
The
take
old hinge pin.
The old
I was gonna
piano
take
hinge.
his calipers, his mics, all of his measuring tools and everything, and scatter them around the shop, and then leave a note in there that says, "Good luck, happy hunting." Oh, and I was going to put super glue in the stupid little lock that he put on it.
Now, we all worked in the service industry or industries in which made up of groups of dudes of varying ages and personal tools. And there was always fun and pranks being pulled. But when I worked at the ambulance plant, I felt like this went a little too far. I no longer have it. It was, unfortunately for me, taken from my possession unknowingly by an ex-girlfriend, but it was my 3-drawer Craftsman toolbox. Not a big deal. I have a Cobalt one now, but this one had the New York Fire Department crest logo on it. I had a bunch of
I remember that.
stickers that were not, that had a problem with it, that weren't able to go on the ambulances, and so I had the fucking crest of the New York FDNY, because we built all their trucks after 9/11. I had Star of Life on it and had all these cool stickers. I lost that toolbox, which sucks. I don't care about the tools. I just want the fucking box back. But anyhow, we would do these little pranks fucking with people's toolbox. Kevin took panhead machine screws and drilled 3 holes in my toolbox and screwed the fucking flip-up lid down so that I had to, and then rounded off the heads on them so you had to drill them out. Now
So you ran self-tappers in?
yeah, they were panhead number 2 self-tapping machine screws. And it's a good prank, but at the end of the day, my toolbox now has holes in it and broken off screw heads from where I had to drill the screws out. So, I mean,
Sounds like the gift that kept on giving.
a good prank usually doesn't leave permanent damage to people's belongings. But
Yeah, I think a better prank may.
one of the best pranks, Gordon probably doesn't remember it. I learned it from the dorms that Gordon lived in at Big Sky, Montana, with communal showers. Gordon, you want to explain people the fun thing to do with communal showers?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
The soap.
No, this is more ingenious than
I mean,
that.
it's not prison. There was more guys than girls there, but
This is an ingenious prank, and so I don't know if college dorms have communal bathrooms or not. If you find yourself, maybe you work in a foundry or someplace where after the shift you got to wash all the funk off you, or maybe you're a
Eat
dick
the
at the gym.
funk.
You can do this at the gym. This would be a good prank for the gym. Put a crescent wrench in your gym bag. Sneak it into the locker room. Take the shower head off. Remember this prank now?
I know what you're going.
Do you want to finish this prank, or you want me to finish it?
You fill those motherfuckers with lifesavers.
Yeah, you take a pack of lifesavers, you put it in the shower head, and then you screw it back on. And so when the unexpected victim is in there with their shampoo, they may get a waft of a pineapple, a strawberry, a lime, but they won't be suspicious. It's not until after they get out and the water has dried and they're completely coated in sugar.
Glazed in sugar. Yeah.
They're like, what the fuck? And if you put enough in there that one shower didn't which probably it will. And that's the good thing about this prank is it's a self-resolving prank, meaning after 5 minutes of hot water running, the offensive
Or
lifesavers are
after
going to be
5
gone.
people go through.
Yeah, well, it depends on how much hot water and water pressure you have, but yes.
Right.
But yeah, just the hair alone, just being completely matted down with sugar and just funk. And if you turn around and go right back in, if the aforementioned lifesavers have not disintegrated yet, you're going to have the same result when it's all said and done. To me, that's like the best prank because one, it's truly
harmless.
victimless. Two, it's a self-resolving, so you don't have to go and clean up a mess when you're done. And no one, and while it's going on, I'm like, oh, what you do is you put blue ink. Well, they see that as soon as the water. This is like literally, it's the
It's invisible.
aftershock. It's the end zing that gets them. So that's a good prank. But
Did I ever talk to you guys about the prank that when I first got into the trade back in Ohio building the school, I was working with the second-year apprentice. And if anybody's been in the trades knows, second-year apprentices are typically the most cocky of them all. They know just enough to be dangerous, but they think they know it all. Kind of like a second grader. And me and this one guy were constantly pulling pranks on each other, writing shit on the shithouse walls. One day he went downstairs, and the rule was, you're supposed to have your tools on at all time. We had a nice tool bag with all his tools in it. It's with the suspenders. I decided to wrap it with some scrap wire, wrap it with some duct tape, and then hang it all the way up in the purlins where he couldn't find it. And he did eventually find it. He's like, I'll get you. And I go down, and it's the end of the day, and oh, that's cute. He smashed a little Debbie under my door handle in my car. And my
that's kind of a dick
windshield wiper.
move.
But I said, hey, Booger. This is a journeyman there. He went by the name Booger. So you got any of that catfish bait? Let me see some of it. All right. Put it on there. And then I turn around and looked like I was copying him. Smashed his car, too. And the kid walks up and goes, oh, you're not original. He picks it up and he eats it. Yeah, he fucking damn near got sick, and he never pulled another prank on
See,
me.
that's a dick move on
He
his
who
part.
laughs last
Laughs loudest.
has the laugh.
That's kind of a dick move
Awful.
because if it's a nice car and that person doesn't find it quick enough, you're potentially causing clear coat damage.
It
on
was
that
a
shit.
white Volkswagen Fox. So.
Yeah.
Smell.
I
If
saw
they don't
Tick.
find it
No,
right
his
away.
was a Jeep. His was a beat up Jeep, but yeah. I knew it would be found and resolved quite quickly, and it was resolved quite quickly, and then we ultimately ended up snowboarding together a few times.
I saw a TikTok video guy coming out to his truck where he left his bait bucket in the backseat over the weekend. Blah. I thought that dead frog in the test tube was bad. That was left in mine.
Did you ever get that smell out?
Yeah. It wasn't nothing 15 vanilla flavored
he
trees.
went
couldn't
nose
handle.
blind is what he actually went.
Two things before I get back to my quitting a job in a glorious fashion. One of the pranks that I saw when working at the Waterbeds and Stuff distribution center, we had a woman there who had an unreasonably unexplainable fear of cotton balls. Not only would she have an absolute fucking meltdown if she physically touched cotton balls, but if you were to separate them in front of her, she swears she could hear the sound of them separating, and it drove her mad. And so people would oftentimes put cotton balls in her leather work gloves. So when she came back, and you would have thought somebody put fucking yellow jackets in her glove. But
Freak the F out, huh?
Gordon and I used to work at Wendy's back in the day,
Yep.
which gives us right to criticize modern day fast food workers.
Well, I also worked at McDonald's even longer than that.
And I worked
For
at Little Caesars, Pizza Hut, Italian Oven, yada yada yada. And
I
early in my
Rax,
TikTok
Wendy.
career, I was ridiculed for busting the balls of people at Wendy's for I
can bust balls.
I
because
made
was
this
there.
sin. This is what made me an asshole to the fast food TikTok. I admitted, Mike, that when I'm at Wendy's or fast food restaurant and they play the service timer game where they ask me to pull forward when my food's not ready, I admitted to that if no one is behind me, meaning I'm the only one in line and I'm not going to prevent any other person from getting their shit, that oftentimes if they ask me to pull up, I'll either flat out refuse and or sit there for an extra minute before pulling up to add more time to their service timer. Because
You know
after
how many-
all, if you're the
You
only
know how many times I've wanted to do that so badly, but
well, if
What
you're
are
the
you gonna
only
do, call the cops on you.
if you're the only person in line, there's no reason to pull forward.
yeah,
There, for those you guys who don't know, there is a service timer, and it basically corporate has a maximum amount of time someone is supposed to sit and drive through. One, because you want the warm food, and two, this only applies to the drive-through because, with the exception of fucking Chick-fil-A, who has a tendency to commandeer neighboring parking lots, most fast food restaurants don't have a big enough parking lot, and so when you get people wrapped around, they spill out into the main thoroughfare and create a traffic jam. And that's the main reason why drive-thrus have service timers and the lobby doesn't. They don't care how long you're sitting in the lobby. So I was told that I was picking on fast food workers. I was fucking with people's jobs because corporate, blah, blah, blah. And to which I say, in 1997, I was able to achieve with a crew of high school kids what you can't achieve with a crew of 19 to 34-year-olds. Congratulations.
I was too. I
But
worked at McDonald's. I worked at Taco Bell. I mean, I busted my ass when I worked at those
And
places.
so-
Oh yeah.
Gordon and I were both grill jockeys.
Shit, back when I
Yep.
worked at McDonald's is before they had the queuing ovens or the microwaves, and you're making 12, 24 burgers at a time. There'd be times where we got 10 buses just pulled on the lot.
Wendy's,
Oh,
we
the
worked at the
worst.
fastest Wendy's in the state of Ohio. It was right off the
It was the
interstate.
fastest McDonald's too.
It was right off basically, Grove City, Ohio is the last interstate exit before you get to downtown Columbus proper, i.e. traffic and fucking insanity. So people
After
would stop
nothing
there,
between
or people driving through Columbus and it was like the last stop heading south before you got to Washington Courthouse or West Jefferson. So like this was kind of like your last stop before you got an hour drive before the next group of fast food restaurants. Our Wendy's, and I know all Wendy's have them, but most of them do not utilize them. Not only did we utilize both windows, but during lunch and dinner rushes, we utilized both grills. And so,
out of Wendy's.
but anyhow, I remember one night, my shift manager, Gordon was long gone at this point, and I was on my third year working there. My shift manager was a guy who looked like Billy Zane named Moon. M-U-N. Moon.
I remember.
He went to school with Gordon. He was a bit of a dick. Had kind of an ego. Weirdo. And when Tales from the Crypt, as we talked about a few weeks
The
ago,
worst person to have an ego is a manager of a fast food restaurant.
when Tales from the Crypt Bordello of Blood came out, he dressed it like Billy Zahn did in the movie with the duster and the cowboy hat. That's how much of a nerd this guy was. Anyhow, Moon and I both tried out for the shift manager job, and he got it, which was fine. And so we were working one night, and he was being a dick. And I wasn't in the mood for him, and I was working grill, and I just finally, after 3 years, and said, fuck this noise. I'm about to graduate high school in 6 months. I just fucking threw the old spatula apron down and walked out right in the middle of a dinner shift like, fuck you, I'm out. And I was cackling like a madman all the way through the parking lot. I was,
Fuck you, fuck you,
fuck you, you're cool,
You're cool,
fuck you,
I'm out.
And so I actually did walk out of a job right in the middle of a shift. And the funny thing is when I worked at the ambulance plant, 4 or 5 of the people who worked at Wendy's who were lifers, Martha being one of them, big old Martha weighing in at 450, but had the world's sexiest voice, and she worked the drive-through. And the fun we had listening with our headsets on is these dudes hitting on old Martha as she
Then
talked
they
with her
come around
sensual
and it's like-
voice. And her 450-pound husband Phil, they're probably long dead by now. This man would sit 8 hours, spend her entire work shift either sitting in his old
Break down
Buick.
the fucking seat of his car.
Not only the seats, the fucking suspension. That thing laid frame, and it wasn't even lowered because between the two of them, they had 1,000 pounds worth of fucking human body rolling in this thing. But they're the nicest people, but good old Phil would either sit in a car or in the lobby, and he was the first person I ever, and before it was dubbed a Arnold Palmer, he was the first person in my life I'd ever seen mixed iced tea and lemonade. And I just thought
It's
that was
actually quite delightful.
I drink it all the time. But this was back in 1995, and I didn't know anything about golf, and I don't imagine Phil hit the links, but we would just hear these young cats and these Rico Suaves and these Don Juans and whatever cliche for what we would now refer as fuck boys in the 90s would come through, and they'd be hitting on good old Martha, and they'd pull up to that first window, and they would just face turn away.
Jokes on them.
What happened to the hot chick? That's Martha, motherfucker. She shouldn't be working at the drive-thru Wendy's. She should be fucking running a phone sex line, but maybe she did in her off time. I don't know. But I say all that to say this, is when I would go to that Wendy's on lunch, I would have people, Martha and the store man, hey, you want to come back and work? Fuck no. No, I'm never coming back here. They tried for like
Oh, so
3
you're making a
years
lot
to get
more
me to
money.
come back there and start working there. Yeah, let me leave my job at the ambulance plant making $12.50 an hour in 1998 to come back to Wendy's making fucking $6.50 an hour or whatever they're paying at the time.
Well, thanks.
So yeah, that was my most
Even
enjoyable.
though you were wrung out at that ambulance factory.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to young Josh at my new job about this, because he just turned 18, has his first job here in Florida. Did come from California, but didn't work, didn't know how taxes worked. And I was explaining to him when I worked at the ambulance plant in Grove City, Ohio, we were mandatory 55 hours a week. For those who don't know how labor and math works, that means that's an extra 15 hours a week of forced overtime, which means you're taxed at 40 hours, you're taxed at 50 hours, and if you went over 55, you're taxed a third fucking time. And not only were you taxed by the wonderful state of Ohio, the city of Grove City, the federal government, but also because
Franklin
somehow we were on Franklin County and bordering the fucking city of Columbus. So I would work 55, sometimes 60 hours a week and get taxed 3 times by the federal government, the state of Ohio, the city of Grove City, and the wonderful county of Franklin County, i.e. got the shit taxed out of me. The problem with all this is when you work at a place for 4 years at mandatory 55 hours a week, that overtime pay is no longer overtime pay. That's basically salary. You get used to your check being a certain amount of money because you work the same amount of hours every fucking week. And when you get your truck done and say, hey, I got my truck done because they broke you down in crew. You had 2 installers, 2 electricians, and this wasn't an assembly line plant like fucking Ford. This is more like, think West Coast Choppers and Jesse James. We would get Ford chassis from the dealership or Freightliners, Internationals, or Chevys, whatever the model that the townships, and there'd be guys in the back with a stack of aluminum building the boxes by hand. We had guys building wiring harnesses by hand. Everything was done. And so when I say building ambulances, I mean I was laying underneath mounting air tanks for the air ride, installing my 6'1" ass in these cabinets holding fucking inverters over my head with diamond plates, screwing diamond plates in. I did the electrical stuff. But anyhow, so you would get a truck. From the time the truck rolled up from pre-stage to on the line, you and your crew worked that truck till beginning, till the time it went into quality control and they pulled you back here because someone fucking stripped out a screw head or didn't crimp a wire correctly. And so there's an interesting study that shows that if you force people to work overtime consistently, their body will naturally adjust, and so you're not actually getting more work out of them because their body adjusts because they know how long a shift they have to work. And
No, you fall off at percentage after 8 hours, and you fall off more after 10.
yeah, because your body says, okay, I got to work 12 hours. Let's conserve energy. We're going to slow down and maintain a pace and get through this 12-hour workday. And so even if you planned out your truck and say, hey, I got my truck done, I'm going to take Saturday off, the manager would say, fuck you won't. You'll be here 5 hours on Saturday, and you're going to go help Steve work on his fucking truck that he didn't get done.
God damn it, Steve.
And so there was absolutely no encouragement or reasoning for you to get done on Friday because you had to work that fucking 7 to noon shift on Saturday regardless. And so you would just fucking work it. And
That's what I hated about manufacturing in general was when I started working, being a machinist. Well, no, I started in assembly and then moved to machining, but we would work 5 days a week, and then it was always, hey, we need some people to come in, or we need your cell to come in, or something like that. And then the plant managers swapped, and we got a new plant manager, and he was like, mandatory Saturdays every weekend, mandatory 6 hours minimum.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck? Like, I've got
Trying to establish his legacy.
I've got like 4 hours on Saturday to do something, and then I get Sunday. And when you live in the Bible Belt, if you don't go to church, then you're
a fucking blasphemer.
So, You know,
Blasphemer!
you literally
Praise
get like
Jesus.
12 hours to do your own thing.
Here's the fun thing. Grove City was dead nuts in the center of the city of Columbus. Not as well dead
Southwest.
southwest of Columbus. I meant pretty much dead nuts center in the state of fucking Ohio. Property taxes are very similar here to in Cape Coral and other places. They're a middle class town. It wasn't up Arlington or Dublin or Powell, but it sure as shit wasn't fucking the east side,
Actually,
the west
it went
side.
by the moniker Grove Tucky.
But anyhow, and so there was a large group of these cats who would live on the border of Ohio. Some of them lived in Kentucky because these were small fucking 100-year-old towns with no real jobs, and so the property value was real
Portsmouth.
low. And so a couple of them would carpool. They'd buy a beater car, put all the mileage on these cars, and they would carpool. So there was one group of guys, they lived in a town. All four of them had DUIs because they would rotate. One would drive, and the other three would drink a case of beer on their 2.5-hour drive home every day.
Oh, fucking hillbilly logic.
And so they get pulled
Never
over.
fails. I mean, it always fails.
One guy was a guy named Val. He was I still follow him on Facebook. He is from Louisiana. He was a boxer back in the day. But Val lived in, I think, Portsmouth or somewhere down on the river, fucking down south. And he would drive 2 hours. And so these poor guys would work.
For $12 an hour job.
Well, he'd been there for like 15. He was probably making 18 or 19, which, to be honest, in 1998 was a pretty decent living. And so,
It's back when gas was like $1 a gallon.
yeah, they'd figure out ways to, they'd have beater cars so they wouldn't put mileage on a car. And once you put in, their cost of living, it was worth it to them. And so management knew this, and they knew that there was a mandatory 5 hours on Saturday, but they let these guys work the system. They didn't realize what these guys were doing, but technically, what time does Saturday start, Gordon?
Midnight.
So these guys got paid on Friday. Val wouldn't do this. Val was a family guy, but J-Bo, I can't believe I remember these fucking guys' names. J-Bo, guy named Dog, who had no front teeth. J-Bo's brother, I can't remember his name. There's like 5 of them. These guys, because they were smart after all, they didn't want to have to drive this long drive home on a Friday and then have to come back early Saturday morning. And so what they would do, they got paid on Friday, and they'd get off work at 6. They'd go out and get something to eat. Then they would find something to occupy their time, and then they would go to the titty bar from like 9 until 11:30, get shit-faced drunk, spend 3/4 of their paycheck, stumble back into the plan at midnight because, hey, it's fucking Saturday, work until 5 in the morning on no sleep, and then make that 2-hour drive home just so they can enjoy the rest of their Saturday.
That's when in quality control they knew which vehicles to look out for.
And there was a couple of guys who were alcoholics. They would go to the bar at lunch, and when they sit down, there's already 2 beers of their preferred flavors. And because we were also overworked and underpaid, a lot of us were 18, 19, we would work and go out and party. Every other toolbox in that fucking place had a pack of yellow jackets or white crosses. Everybody was speeding to stay awake to maintain this. So if you rode
Some of that there booger sugar.
if you rode in a certain brand ambulance in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was built by alcoholics, partiers, guys with DUIs, and the rest of us were just hopped up on speed. So, but you did what you had to do to get the job done. I mean, you know the mentality of all 18 to 20-year-olds. I'll be goddamned if I'm going to get to bed at 11 o'clock on a weeknight just because I got to be up at 5:30 to be at work. I'm staying up until 3. And then 9 a.m. rolls around. Hey, John, you got any yellow jackets in your toolbox? So you'd be up there, coffee, fucking. This is before Monster Energy, or I think Red Bull may have just came out. So everybody's just eating fucking yellow jackets and white crosses and everything else. It was just pure debauchery. But that was a good job for a 19-year-old dude with no college degree and no other real prospects. And the great thing was, and Gordon got frustrated because he was doing some construction work, and I think at the time I think you're working at FedEx or so, and you actually wanted to apply there, but you weren't happy with the pay scale. And you're like, I got all this experience. I'm like, you don't understand. They don't want people with experience. They want to train you to do shit their way.
I don't even remember.
You talked to me about applying, but you found out how much they paid starting out. You're like, dude, I'm an experienced electrician. I have experience. I was like, they don't want experience. They want to teach you how to do shit their way.
Remember that second year for this thing? Yeah, that's kind of where I was at.
But
So I
yeah,
thought I was experienced.
yeah.
It's funny. There's a lot of houses in Lee County that were built just based off of cocaine and alcohol.
Well, when I started at computers,
Piecework.
I would be
That's
I would
right.
be at the gas stations at like 7 in the morning, and you'd see all these painters, or whatever time that the gas stations could legally start selling beer. You'd see all these painters and construction guys just buying ice and cases of beer to go paint houses all day.
You ain't tuning a piano.
Nope. News and shit. News and shit. Now here's
We're
Gordon with
running
some
long
news and
today.
shit. Joining us live from the news desk of the Digital 410 Media Network in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's Gordon.
Augusta, Maine. Why? Because it's August. A metal object believed to have fallen from a transatlantic jet came crashing down outside the Maine State House landing with a loud bang, just shy, a few feet shy from a Capitol Police worker, according to officials on Monday.
Kind of surprised that doesn't happen more with as many airliners in the sky
I
and
know.
many people who don't want to work anymore.
Remember in the 90s when it was always the frozen shit cubes that came out and hit people's houses?
Yeah, because after all, the new phrase now is quiet quitting, but we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, whatever. The Federal Aviation Administration was alerted on Friday and returned to the State House on Monday to investigate said object.
And the
According
blue things Gordon was talking about was the subplot in the movie Joe Dirt.
Yes, it was. According to Capitol Police Chief Matthew Clancy.
He's got two first names, and they're both kind of redneckish.
And it's in Maine. Anywho, close enough.
Mike was over
metal-
here the other day. My new neighbor's name's Matt, and I was hoping he was going to walk over here. I was like, welcome to the meeting of the whitest guys with the whitest names, Matt, Mike, and Don.
So the metal hit with a loud bang on a slab of granite lining the cobblestone walkway about 6 to 8 feet from the security screener. And came close to hitting. That's what we call a near miss in construction. And came close to hitting the building itself.
Tell the story about the hammer drill.
Oh my God!
Sorry, we interrupt this news story to bring more workplace shenanigans. Tell them about the hammer drill,
So
George.
we had this one guy. Well, we had Booger. We've mentioned Booger. He was definitely a redneck. I think he's from Newark or something. Newark, and he was working with a. This is everything wrong. The events you're about to hear are everything that you're not allowed or not supposed to do according to OSHA and any other construction guideline.
Some could argue it's a result of an adrenaline dump.
So and then we had this young kid he was really into hip hop. He's a tall, skinny white guy. We all had white hard hats. He had a blue one, so we earned the name 2%. And he was a little kind of a tweaky guy, and he's using a Bosch SDS hammer drill with a 3/8 inch bit, I believe.
Now, did he have the foregrip on it?
Oh yes, he had the foregrip, and he's drilling into a CMU wall. What's a CMU wall, Gordon? Well, that is a block wall, concrete, also known as cinder block. I think he grabbed on some rebar or some. Oh no, it was sitting on top. He had it sitting in one of the holes.
Yes,
on top of the ladder.
the auxiliary holes that people try to utilize. But I'm going to put my
Booger the journeyman was below him, working on a receptacle or some shit.
because in a safe ocean environment, you work underneath someone on a ladder.
Yes, as I said, this is not OSHA approved means and methods of work. This was back in the late 90s.
Early 2000s.
Late
somewhere in
90s
it.
for sure.
Yep.
Ladder got bumped. Drill came off. Bit got run through Booger's arm.
Masonry
all the way up to the
bit.
chuck,
18 inches.
right in the forearm. And
Before you say this next part, Mike, if you were standing under a ladder and someone dropped a hammer drill with an 18-inch masonry bit through your forearm, what procedure would you utilize to remove either bit or said drill?
I'd be screaming and flailing in pain.
But after that,
After that, would
Release
probably
the chuck,
probably take it out of the chuck and pull it through. All the
or
way.
leave it in your arm until you get to the hospital.
Yeah.
Or if you're dead set on removing it, you would probably put it in reverse and slowly back the fucking thing
no,
out of your
no,
arm.
you would not. No, you would not.
That sounds
One of
just-
the things
just
you
as painful
never,
as it
ever,
going in.
ever do with a puncture wound is remove said object. They
Correct.
right back out,
He just
know.
he didn't back it out. He ripped it out.
meat and all, hanging off of this thing.
But
But I will give Booger this. He's
Didn't
back
it?
to work the next day.
motherfucker returned to work the next day. Hey man, no insurance. Don't want to lose my overtime pay. Nowadays, someone would be filing lawsuits. These cats probably fucking drop a hammer on their toe and they're not going to work for 3 weeks. Fucking.
You ever seen the Knights of Knee?
We are no longer the knights who say knee. We are the knights who say icky, icky, icky. I kaput knee.
It's merely a flesh wound.
No, that wasn't the knights of knee. That was
That
the
was Monty Python.
well, same movie, but that was the
Life
guy
of-
who was
Life of
guarding
Brian?
the.
Nope, not Life of Brian.
No, that was
Holy Grail.
correct movie, but the knights who said knee is not that. That's the
still on
Black
the air.
Knight who. That was the Black Knight who was guarding the bridge, like the Billy Goat Gruff troll.
Yes.
It's
After-
but a flesh wound.
Yes, after he got his arms and his legs cut off. I'll bite you.
It's only a scratch.
Tis only a scratch. Anywho, it definitely was a wake-up call. The guy probably crapped his pants, maybe pissed a little. The FAA believes a metal sleeve weighing 6 to 7 pounds, which is enough to destroy you, came from a wing flap of a large passenger jet. I believe this came from a wing flap of a large passenger jet. Airlines were
Knee.
notified and all planes landed safely that day, according to Clancy. The area where the plane part crashed on the ground is usually busy when Maine legislature is in session.
Would you
And
feel
it's-
secure reading any sort of investigation report from a guy named Clancy? That's the type of guy who replaces the fucking transmission in your Corvette.
God damn it, Clancy. Needless to say, nobody is hurt. A little bit of a near miss. Shit fell out of the sky. Not a conduit, not a comet or anything like that.
I knew a
Oh,
guy in
moving
Grove
on.
City who had the classic name of Cliff, and he was
Are
only
we having a
15.
dog off now?
Bailey does this. When it's time, she'll come in and start crying. One up on the. I actually shut the
Like,
door earlier when I
Daddy,
was
this is going long.
when I was setting up Mike's domain name tonight. I shut the door and she was crying because she thought I was in here doing a podcast without her.
Remember that story I told about the dog that was in Alaska that was missing for a while and then was found? Well, not to say here, hold my beer, but this is the way Missouri is going to do it. Dog missing for 2 months.
Ugh.
Found alive inside a Missouri cave.
Wow.
Jeff Barnhart he's all but given up on seeing his poodle hound mix again after she went missing in early June. 2 months later, he got a text from a neighbor. People are exploring a nearby cave and found a dog. Could it be Abby? Barnhart doubted it, but still curious, he went to the cave site near his rural Missouri home. Must be down near the Ozarks.
By the way,
That's
he
when
cannot
he-
pronounce rural if he's living down there.
Who, me?
No, the guy who lives down there. Chances are he can't
rural.
pronounce the rural.
Yeah.
Rural. I can't.
And that's when he saw the picture that one of the rescuers took. He said, "That's my dog." Making Abby's tale even more amazing is the fact that she was just weeks shy of turning 14.
Wow, that's an old dog living off of fucking lizards and God knows what she was eating in that goddamn
Yeah.
cave. She probably went full blown feral.
Yet somehow she manages to survive nearly 60 days out there on her own, apparently much or all of it in a barren, pitch dark,
Jesus.
58-degree cave. Abby and Bernard's other dog, Summer, do everything together, including misbehave. On June 9th, the pair ran away from home, Bonnert recalled. It has happened before and in the rural area near Perryville, located in eastern
Purple.
Missouri. Right, it probably is Purple
Purple.
in Missouri.
Missouri.
This was
down Purple.
generally not considered a big deal. The dogs would scamper through fields and maybe chase
That's what dogs
something
do when they live on farms out in Purple.
and then head home. When Barnard awoke the next morning, Summer was back, but Abby was not. They are never separate. I figure something.
Another
bad
case of a
happened.
fucking dog falling down a well. First it was our
Yeah.
children, now it's our dogs. Can we
You know,
cap
it's
off
in a
these
cave.
fucking
It's in
wells?
a cave, not a well. It's in a cave.
First baby
Anyway.
Jessica, now this. It's too much.
I figured something bad had happened. I mean, she's old and she could have been overcome by the heat. Barnard posted about his missing dog on Facebook, reached out to neighbors, and contacted the police, but nobody had seen Abby. On August 6th, Jerry Keene and 5 other adults, along with 5 children, had just entered the
We went
Brummy
spelunking.
or cave, planning to do a day of
I
exploring.
wore my outdoor shoes. We went spelunking.
One of the kids ran ahead of the group and yelled back to his dad, "There's a dog in here." The dad was like, "No,
Don't
there's
touch
not." Yes, there
It's
was.
got
She
the
was
mange.
lying, curled up in a ball.
Oh, poor
according to
baby.
Keen. She lifted her head and looked at us, but didn't respond to verbal commands. She looked like she is pretty close to being done.
Jesus.
Keen enlisted the help of other cavers who happened to be there. This guy's name is Rick Haley. They knew Abby couldn't make it the estimated 500-foot walk
Ugh.
back to the entrance, especially since it was through tight passages and up a steep incline. So
Hopefully they had the foresight to lay her on a shirt and or a jacket so they're not putting
Well-
her weight on her bones.
Haley was trained in cave rescues, and he retrieved a duffel bag and a blanket from his truck. They then put the blanket inside the bag, then the dog inside
There you
on
go.
top of the blanket. Immediately took to the warm blanket, and after weeks of lying in the cold mud,
Oh, Jesus.
until Abby got out, the trick was, she was just fragile.
Yeah.
It was critical not to give her any rough handling.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky areas through small passages. We could carry a short distance and set her down, then kind of move her again, reach back, pick her up, put her in front of us, keep like kind of a leapfrog type deal.
Mm-hmm.
Soon after the initially finding, Abby Keene briefly went to the few homes nearby to see if anybody was missing a dog. That's when a neighbor reached out to Bonnert, who lived close enough to the cave site that he could see it from his house. So,
But
they
that was
went
the
on a search.
case. If you knew you lived by this fucking cave and your dog was missing, I mean, our
Well,
aunt.
He's an older guy, so he
Yeah.
probably wasn't much help.
But
there
you would
either.
you would think. I mean, our aunt Robin at least knew that if her cats went missing, chances are the goddamn coyotes got them. She would know where to look.
Yeah. Well, Abby originally weighs about 50 pounds, and the owner says that he guessed she lost about half her body weight in the
I'd
cave.
imagine.
Since the rescue, she's regained her weight and started to get her voice back that she lost barking for help.
But that's the thing too. If we learned anything from watching Band of Brothers or any research on World War II, you find a dog or a human like that, you can't just say, "Here's some fucking food." Their stomach will explode. You got to slowly feed them back. So, if you find a dog in that condition, you can't just start shoving fucking handfuls of kibble down its throat. You'll kill
Well,
it.
Exactly. And she's wagging her tail again, showing that she's putting the trauma behind her, and it's amazing how she's springing back already.
Someone
she's
turns on
acting
our
like
video on
something.
YouTube and they see my arm moving like this, and they don't know what,
Yeah.
they don't realize I got a dog in my lap that I'm petting.
The
I
video
saw his
pulled
podcast.
down.
This guy was
What are you-
looked like
what
he
are
was
you doing down
manipulating
there, fella?
himself,
What are you doing down there, fella?
stroking it.
And one last story here, real quick. In the village of Tiwa, Arizona, this is one that would strike close to home for us.
We have villages in the United States.
Yes, well, this is a Hopi Indian reservation.
Oh, okay. Fun fact:
So
you know
they
the difference between
skateboarded on
a
basketball courts and in parking lots and through highway intersections and down roads that twist
and
from the
toy?
mesas that rise above the high desert. They set up their tricks on old railroad ties and lumber, sometimes using their own skateboards to move the material into place. Kind of like shit we did, right?
Mhm.
Trying to make
Push
it work.
the launch ramp down the street on 3 skateboards.
Yep. During the pandemic that led to lockdown, curfew, and mask mandates on the Hopi Reservation, the solo nature of skateboarding was a comfort. But the reservation that bordered the northeast corner of Arizona lacked a single designated skate spot. So a group of Hopi
Hard to skate on
teenagers
dirt.
made it happen. Seeing out a project they initially thought would take months and displaying the Hopi culture and value of Suwanaga.
What
I'm
he
not going to
said.
say it. Coming together for the greater good is what it means. I hope that it will inspire other youths and make the Hopi community be a better place for future generations of our people.
Yes.
According to Quentin Q. Nashashona, and one handful of code leads on the project. So the skateboarding designation opened this spring in the village of Tewa. It's called Skate 264 for the highway that runs through the 2,500 square mile Hopi reservation. It connects more than a dozen villages. So needless to say, these kids have got a place to skate all the way out there in the middle of freaking nowhere for the most part. And one of the things they want to do is in hopes, and it's so funny because skateboarding is also known for leading kids to do bad things.
Well, it was in the
Hope is
80s
to
and
keep
90s
kids
when
away
we were
from
skating.
from doing bad stuff.
When we were skating, we were considered outlaws.
So
Jersey
that's
Wales.
it, man. That is all I've got.
I got Bailey back on her science diet, and she's ripping pumpkin farts in my lap. I'm about to throw up.
This
Well, it's gotta
concludes
smell
the
better
evening
than
news,
the,
and now back to the ACT Computer Studio in Cape Coral,
the
Florida.
markers.
What's that?
Now you add to the smell of the marker and the Sharpie.
I'd
and the,
almost rather smell the
Flex Seal.
the pumpkin fart than that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So at least- hey, man, it's organic.
Yep. Speaking of Hey Man Organic, it's about time we organically wrap up the show. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for another episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. If you want to listen to Mike's podcast, the Tackle Your Personal Best podcast, you can do so now via tackleyourpersonalbest.com. And as always, you can go to d-410.com to listen to other podcasts here on the network. And while you're there, feel free to click on that Patreon link, sign up, and subscribe. It only costs you $1 a month. Bailey wants to go to bed. I do too. But
I
go
do too.
sign up for that. It'll cost you $1 a month and it'll go a long way to help contribute to what we do here at the show. But on behalf of Gordon, myself, Mike, and Bebop and Bailey and everybody else in my house who wants me to shut up so they can go to bed, we will talk to you all next week.
Bye.